new week, it's a new life, it's new joys.
Sorry,
It's
that was
it's
Mustafa.
time again where three of us, sometimes more, but not quite yet, get together and chat some gaming, man. Let's get into it. What we've been playing today? Let's start with Kyle. Why not?
What have I been playing? Well, I've been playing, surprise, surprise, Elden Ring.
Yes.
Elden Rings. How far are you? What you been up to?
I, it's difficult to say how far I am. I mean, I've beaten the first kind of main boss, which opens the storyline up, because I don't really want to spoil anything. Not the first boss, but like the second main boss of the game is where I'm at.
Okay.
Interesting. I have no idea if you mean the boss I've beat, but I don't want
That's
to go.
part of the joys of this game, right?
Well,
I've beat bosses. I've beat open world bosses.
do you have a great rune yet?
No.
Okay, then you have not beat the boss I am talking about.
Shit. Fair enough. Okay.
Hey Stu, what you playing, man?
Well, unsurprisingly as well, Elden Ring. I finally finished Horizon. I got the platinum for Horizon. I
Congratulations.
honestly, thank you. Honestly disappointed by the platinum for Horizon because there was absolutely no effort in it whatsoever. You don't have to finish all the side quests. You don't have to finish all the side activities. Some things you can completely ignore throughout the entire game, not even interact with, and you can still get the platinum.
Yeah, Hello
So
Kitty Adventure comes to mind, just with
yeah,
better graphics.
it's kind of like I Am Mayo but longer. So game was really great, really great. It was just a bit of a lackluster platinum, that's all. Highly recommend the game still. It's awesome. But now I'm on Elden Ring. My God, it's a good job I held off and finished Horizon because I wouldn't have gone back. The open world of Elden Ring is far superior by virtue of the fact that there's not check markers everywhere, and I didn't realize how tired I'd gotten of check markers and map markers and telling me where to go. And when it's available to you, you use it all the time. Like in Horizon, you can do a little pulse ping, and it shows up all the items around you.
Yeah.
And I got really lazy, and I was just tapping R3 every couple of seconds, being like, "Oh, what's around? What can I pick up?" With Elden Ring, actually got to use your eyes. I know that sounds crazy. You've actually got to look at what you're doing.
Yeah.
If
You
you miss
have to
it,
look.
yeah.
I'm not playing it anymore. I'm done.
If you miss it, tough shit. You ain't gonna get it.
Yeah.
Um,
I kind of
but
I feel you on that one because Days Gone was the same thing. It had like
mm,
a system where you press R3 and it does like a thing called Survivor Vision and it'll pulse the
yeah,
area and it'll show you
and I
items
think
and
I've
if you have a certain upgrade it'll show you enemies.
yeah, and I think I've decided I hate that. As useful as it was to get materials together, I think it made the game more mundane. It didn't prompt me to engage with my surroundings, and as beautiful as the environments are in Horizon, I only ever really noticed it when I was trekking cross country. I
Yeah.
also discovered that you might remember the other week I said that this game is not built for mounts. This
Yep.
game is built for a very specific mount, and I won't say what it is because it is a spoiler. But if you play the game and get to the point, you'll know exactly what I mean. This game is built around this mount. Keep that in mind. And when you get this mount, the game just goes to an entirely different level of awesome. But that's all I'll say.
I see.
Back to Elden Ring. The being a long time Soulsborne fan, the addition of a jump button is surprisingly uh, it opens so many more avenues to the game of exploration and stuff than you'd think.
I was going to say you have to say good. The
Oh,
jumping is good.
the jumping is
It's good.
good. It's so good. It changes. It changes combat. It changes exploration. It changes how I run away from shit
Yep.
because I bunny hop away now. Of course. Um. Yeah, such a simple addition has made such a drastic difference to exploration, and it opens so many more avenues of like, oh well, I'm supposed to go this way, but actually I could just go up here and where does this go? And like just before we came on, I got completely lost just as a result of me jumping over somewhere that was probably quite risky to do, but I got a cool item from it and kind of circumvented a large room of enemies that I probably would have died in. It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's like it kind of reminds me of the old days where when you're a kid and you were playing a game and because you played it that often, you kind of accidentally started jumping up walls, thinking, "Oh, I wonder if I can get out of bounds here
Yeah,
and stuff like that."
yeah,
But in
like the
Dark Souls,
Skyrim mountain jump.
in Dark Souls, sorry, in Elden Ring, you're meant to do that.
Yeah.
The first like big castle area, there is a whole section essentially locked off by the fact you have to do a jumping puzzle, so to speak.
I think that's exactly where I am. I'm in Stormvale Castle,
Yep. And there is
and
a
I kind
path
of
that drops down the middle with two pathways that slightly rise up either side, and you have to jump
yeah,
across one onto a ledge and then back through a window.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
I know
yeah, yeah.
exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
I know,
accidental jumping puzzle.
but the thing is, you feel so smart for doing this by accident. You're like, shit, yeah, that gamble paid off because now I've found this, I've managed to avoid this danger, I've got further as a result. It makes you feel as though exploration's worth it.
Yeah.
Whereas exploration in Horizon, for instance, isn't worth it because if it doesn't have a map marker, you don't need to go there.
Yeah,
So I had absolutely zero interest in looking around.
my one gripe with the whole jumping thing, which I'm sure Parky will soon realise, is that Dark Souls is notorious for players just to troll you with fake messages. So sometimes the try jumping message will actually work and it'll lead you to an item. Sometimes try jumping will just have you jump off the edge of a cliff. And you'll never know which one to trust.
Yeah.
Trust them all, because eventually you'll get one right.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Oh, what are you? You've only literally just created your character, Parky.
I'm
So
still here staring at him. I'm waiting to play, but obviously,
good.
I'm
What are
not
your
going to do that. I will get.
expectations? Because you've obviously dabbled in Souls games before, but not for a while.
I want something like Demon Souls type.
Mm-hmm.
A bit of fun. I know the bosses are going to be insane.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably get one shot a lot, but I'm not worried. I come into the game knowing it's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
But if I beat that very first boss and get my nice big Centurion shield, I'm going to be a happy boy. It's not going to happen, but I'm going to be happy.
Without, no, I'm not going to say it. You make your own discoveries. I'm not going to spoil it. All I'll say to Kyle is, big horse shield dude finally killed him.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Ironically enough, I helped somebody else kill him and then went back to kill him myself. Once I'd
really
leveled up a bit,
hard.
because don't do it at the beginning.
Oh, I cheesed him. I climbed up a church.
Oh. I
And
suppose
just
if you got
stabbed
magic,
him.
it's... Well, yeah, okay. Yeah. I was going to say if you got magic, it's not too bad,
Magic
but
builds are for weak people.
no, there is
Well,
a fundamental flaw with said enemy and said magic, but I'm
oh
not going to
yeah, there
spoil
is.
it.
No.
That's
Yeah,
your thing to discover.
I learned that the hard way.
Yes.
I suppose it's probably important to say what classes we picked. I think you two picked the same one, didn't you?
Yeah,
Yep. I went with the
probably.
Vanguard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I went with Vanguard as well, just because he looks, the bulky one.
Well, I went into it
Survivable.
I went into it with like I want to play a melee build, but I don't want to go your typical sword and board. Sword.
Yeah, I didn't want to. I didn't want to be like the berserker looking two-sworded.
Yeah. So I found a niche sort of thing because apparently everything in Elden Scrolls is overpowered.
Elden Scrolls. What the fuck are you on
Elden
about?
Scrolls? Sorry.
Elden Scrolls.
Elden Scrolls, yeah.
I mean, the hero looks awesome. The warrior looks awesome, but I didn't want the two-sword build.
Mm-hmm.
The bandit looks like, well, he's good with bows, which could be good if you're a thing. Stu, you're the astrologer, right?
I am the astrologer.
Gandalf-looking guy.
I've made Gandalf.
Was a healing incantation pro warrior, so it's like, yeah, you can heal yourself, but you're going to take a lot of damage immediately.
Yeah. You can heal yourself, but you're not going to kill the thing.
Samurai looks pretty decent, not going to lie.
The samurai looks cool, and there's some legendary katanas in the game that would really suit the samurai.
Yeah.
But that's for another playthrough.
The prisoner apparently has got glintstone sorcery.
Yeah, which is what the astrologer has as well.
Okay.
And
You've
then
got
you've got
the confessor, the sword and incantation warrior, and then the last one, which is the guy with a club.
Yeah, the depraved or whatever it's called in
The
this one.
wretch, yeah.
Wretch,
Poor
that's it.
purposeless sod, naked as
Yeah.
the day they were born. A nice club is all they have.
Yeah, that's Elden Ring's hard mode. I think the only reason I chose the astrologer is because I always play. I played Demon Souls, I played Dark Souls, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3 as Sword and Board. Every single time, I always ended up falling into the Sword and Board trap. But this time, I was like, right, I'm going to go the polar opposite. I'm going Mage. You know what? Fucking awesome. So good. It's so fun.
Yeah.
I've been terrible at dodge rolling in every single Dark Souls game. I've finished them all. I always relied on the shield. But then after playing Bloodborne, where evasion is much more important because there are no shields.
Bloodborne's an awesome game.
Yeah, there are no shields. Well, no, tell a lie. There's a few shields in Bloodborne, but you get punished for using them in one way or another. My tactic for Elden Ring so far is very much getting used to evasion, and I am now much better at it already. And I think as well, playing at 60 frames a second, and to be honest, all our worries of technical issues haven't arisen for me at all. I've had no frame drops whatsoever.
Same.
So playing at 60 frames a second, I find it way, way easier to read the enemies and dodge them.
Yeah, for now.
For now.
Until
Shit
they
gets
come up
heavier
behind
and
you and just
steal
shove
all my
a big
frames.
sword in
There
the
are
back.
some enemies that you look at them and you think, what the hell do I even do here?
Yeah, well, there's some knights in Stormvale Castle with their weird, special attacks, I'll say, and I couldn't read it at all, and he absolutely diced me to pieces.
I got decimated on the two-handed knight as well.
Yeah, that's the one.
Big guy. He's slightly bigger than the others. And...
Yeah. So I'm really enjoying the mage class, to be fair. Very easy to farm with as well, because I just stand on a cliff and hurl rocks at these bird things that give you 2,000 souls every time you kill them. Not souls, sorry, runes. So I'm now level 41.
Yeah.
Wow.
How are you not further ahead than me in the story?
Because I've only just finished farming.
Oh, okay.
I spent all of last night farming. Yeah, really enjoying it so far. I'm glad I waited to finish Horizon though, because like I said, I wouldn't have gone back. And that's it. That's what I'm playing.
Cool.
All right. Decent.
What's coming up in the news?
So we've got Babylon's Fall. We know how bad it was and how much of a cold reception it had on release. And now they're trying to use consumer feedback to improve the game. Do you reckon it's too late, or do you reckon the damage has been done?
I
didn't
think
even really see it mainstreamly advertised, to be honest with you.
It wasn't. It was left to die, really, and I can see why. I don't think that this game is redeemable, and I think because their focus is on the graphics first and foremost, which is the graphics are pretty terrible. It's supposed to go for like an oil painting look, but oil paintings have color, and this game's. I'm colorblind, and I can see that this game is brown. It's so brown.
Yeah, it's very beige going through.
I'm not black and white colorblind. That's not that's a thing, but that is not the common thing. I'm like, I think it's no, I can't remember the name of it, but I struggle with like shades. So dark blue and purple doesn't exist to me. I don't have a clue what purple is, but I can tell what brown is, and brown is in this game. I think focusing on the graphics is a mistake though, because as boring as it looks, the gameplay is worse. I mean, we could literally do an exercise all together right now. We could all stand up in our seat and hold your hand up above your head and just bring it down in a vertical motion, and that is all the combos in the game. That's it. That's all you got to do. You want to cosplay Babylon's Fall? That's all you got to do. Stick your hand up in the air and bring it down. It might be an effort by Square Enix to revive the game, but I don't think it's going to work if they're going to focus on graphics first, because they need to make the game fun, so people are going to want to play it.
Yeah. It's a shame. It looked like it had a lot of potential, but yeah, I think the boat's gone. And they've
Definitely.
missed a chance on it.
Yeah, 100%.
What do you reckon, Carl? Can it be saved or?
I don't think it's the type of game that can be saved. If that makes sense. Like, there's certain games where, for instance, like Destiny 2 or Division. There's certain games where, okay, it might be bad, but you can kind of redeem yourself. This doesn't feel like one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was a jumping off point with Destiny 2, wasn't there? There was like, all right, this is missing this, and this, but the core experience when it first released was fine. It managed to pull players in. Babylon's Fall is not that game. It's just bad.
It's one of those where I might play it, but only when it's on sale a long time in the future.
Or when it's free on PlayStation Plus.
Yeah. Yeah, it may well be. It's such a shame because I was so looking forward to this game, but then obviously it shifted from single player to live service, and that has been the death of this game. At Square Enix, I'm so annoyed at Square Enix, and I'm annoyed for Square Enix, and I'm annoyed at Platinum, and I'm also annoyed for Platinum. Because Square Enix obviously they must have mandated this to be a live service game, which probably wasn't Platinum's original plan. Platinum went ahead with the live service implementation, and they did not do it well. The question that I've got is, who the fuck greenlit this? Like, who playtested this? What suit at Square Enix saw this
And went, oh, it's fun.
in a demonstration and went, yep, that's all right, go with it.
That'll make us 20 quid. Bargain.
Yeah. Who? It's just as much Platinum's fault for poorly implementing a live service into what was a single player game. I'm sure this game would have still been pretty bad if it was single player, just maybe not as bad because they could have focused on what they're good at, which is good action games. Maybe
Yeah, you would have been able to actually see.
Yeah, yeah, you would have actually been able to see instead of some fucking floating weapons in front of your screen. It's so irritating to see Platinum releasing excellent games and then releasing the worst game on the market at the moment, and then Square Enix having a catalogue of IP such as Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, and then Babylon's Fall and
Yeah, but
Marvel's
would you not have
Avengers.
been more disappointed if they did this to something that you love, like Dragon Quest or?
Yeah, I really would. Yeah, but there is no way in hell they're going to mess with that. There's no way they would ruin their staple franchises in the live service market because, let's be fair, you take a punt at live service in the hope that it's going to be the next fad and people are going to just spend on microtransactions. Surely, I hope that they wouldn't do that to a core series with a core fan base that come back every single time a new title's released. Because the game sells gangbusters every single time they're released anyway. Babylon's Fall is a new IP, and they probably thought, this is a risk, new IP, let's stick some monetization in to make the money back. And it's backfired on them because that probably is the reason that no one wants to play it.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I don't know. I'm so conflicted because it's a shame for Square Enix because it's another dud like Marvel's Avengers, but it's also probably Square Enix's fault.
Yeah, they might have rushed it a bit too much, or they might have changed it last second. Who knows? Until you get the inside scoop, you don't.
Well, whether there will be one or not, I don't know. At the end of the day, Square Enix could have just turned around to Platinum and says, "No, do it again."
Yeah.
It's not like they can't afford to do that. And I don't. This game doesn't look like it had like $100 million budget. It's probably like 10 million, and Square Enix is big enough to eat 10 million and start again. Spend another 10 million refining it, making it better, making it playable, making sure that it sells more than 5,000 copies, which is abysmal. Indie games sell more than 5,000 copies. It's crazy
Yeah.
how
Crazy
anyone.
world.
Crazy world. But anyway, before I get more on a rant,
Let's shimmy on to the next subject then, yeah?
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Shimmy on over.
so angry.
So this is going to make you even more angry, right? Reports of Grand Theft Auto accounts disappearing.
Right.
So you can't
Yeah.
go back to your old account once you've migrated it. It's faster. Like, it just disappears.
Yeah. So this is in relation to the next
GTA
gen
5, yeah,
upgrade.
online. Can you imagine? I mean, I put a stupid amount of hours into my GTA.
Mm-hmm.
It would be devastated to go over and go like, oh, my account's now disappeared. I guess they don't reimburse you or anything for it, you know.
No, I mean it does disappear in a way. Effectively, if you buy the next gen upgrade, as far as I understand, say you have it on Xbox One or PS4, and then you buy the next gen upgrade to PS5 or Xbox Series X or S, you will no longer have access to your account on the previous gen console. You'll only have access to it on the next gen
which
console.
which could be a problem. I mean, I don't know
Yes.
why they blocked it, but
I don't know if it's intentional or not.
just reckon it was just a missite that.
Well, they've definitely acknowledged the fact that this is another problem as well. Just a part of the controversy of accounts disappearing. If you've ever migrated your account to PC, you can't play it on console anymore. So if you made the decision that you want to play at a higher frame rate, higher fidelity, with faster loading times during the previous gen console era, so you decided to go to PC, so you've got a beastie PC, you can't go back to console anymore. And they've acknowledged that that's a problem that wasn't intentional, so I don't know whether or not it's intentional on console. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was, because this is the studio that released the GTA Trilogy remaster in such a
We all
shitty
know
state.
how good that was, right?
Oh, that was
Oh
a
yeah,
masterpiece. It was Game of the
the
Year, wasn't
Milk
it?
Rain.
I used to remember back in the day when I used to be able to do the same thing where you could fly through the sky on a bicycle. You know, just going along Grove Street. Oh no, you're not. You're flying. All right, see
Yeah,
ya.
yeah, okay, but that'll do.
And the graphics look so poor. Not
I
what
mean,
I was expecting at all.
I'm not like,
Um,
a games developer or designer, so I don't know how truly difficult it would be. But surely it's more of just a case of you should be able to, transfer your character around because isn't it all just as an online server? Isn't it just save data?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I don't see why there's.
It's certain lines of code where okay, you own this asset with, this coloring and this shader, and it should just be a case of loading the right code in or something similar. I mean,
Effectively, it's just the transfer of an online profile. I
yeah,
don't see any reason why you shouldn't be able to. I mean, say with Outriders, it's not a live service game, but there's online elements. I played it on the PS5, and then I went elsewhere and logged in as my character on a PS4, and it worked fine. I had all my inventory, everything, nothing was missing. And then obviously when I went back home and went back to my PS5, all the progress I'd made on that PS4 I was playing on was updated on my account on the PS5. That was seamless, cross-gen, fine. I don't think there's any reason why this shouldn't work properly.
Moving on to the next thing, the
Mm-hmm.
price tag.
The price tag, yeah,
God, not again.
$10 basically for PS5. But
yeah,
if you're lucky enough to own an Xbox, you get to pay the amazing price of $10 extra.
yeah.
So a nice $20 tag on that one. Though.
I mean,
So
I know back in the day, you used to, for instance, like Minecraft is a prime example on the PS3 and stuff. To update it to different versions, you had to
Mm-hmm.
physically pay. Whoever owned it, Mojang, would have to pay Microsoft or Sony to update their game and patch it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But surely we're past that at this point, and so charging for essentially what is now a third generation game, like
Mm-hmm.
PS3,
Yeah.
PS4, PS5,
yep.
Xbox 360, Xbox
We're
One,
in
and Series X or whatever.
we're in dangerous territories of GTA 5 becoming Skyrim with the amount of releases that it's had.
Oh god, yeah, and
Yeah.
like Legacy
And the
Edition.
amount of
that's rubbish.
mods and stuff that people have added to it is insane. Like you can run around in Superman and one-shot things across the city. Like,
Yeah, at the end
Well, I
of the
think
day,
that's another. Oh, go on.
Rockstar, you've made your money. You make loads of money in GTA Online, so just make it more available for people to upgrade for free, and you might make even more money.
Well, I think this is their last-ditch attempt before GTA 6 to milk this cash cow for all it's worth, because, like I said previously on one of our earlier episodes, I think that GTA 6 Online will be completely separate from GTA 5. I think you'll start from scratch because it doesn't make financial sense for the business to let you carry everything over, because they won't be able to implement innovations and changes to the online that they might want to make if you're carrying over all this shit from the old one. Some stuff might not even be available in the new one.
Oh, yeah,
New stuff might be available.
guaranteed, it's gonna be, it's got to be a new game with new assets and everything.
but
Because
also I think they're
100%.
worrying a bit because obviously with the reception that the trilogy got, I think they're trying to knuckle down and literally pull out all the stuff. Because if GTA 6 flops, then it's going to be a bad day, isn't it?
It's going to be a very bad day. I don't think there's any reality where GTA 6 flops. It might be technically poor. It will still sell hundreds of millions of worth of dollars. There is no way that it won't break records again, just like GTA 5 did when it first released. The highest grossing video game in history.
Yeah, the free character swap and stuff like that. You know, that was pretty initiative, pretty decent. But do you reckon they'll do something like that in the new one? Do you reckon we're sticking to one character?
I don't know.
I reckon now they've trialed the 3-character thing, they might stick with it and just go a different direction. You know, totally different storyline.
Yeah.
But I think focus might be more this time on the multiplayer, given how much money it eventually made them.
I don't think there's going to be a single player campaign in GTA 6.
You think it'll be like a multiplayer, like an online multiplayer with
Controversy
story mode built in?
Yeah, I think it'll be like I think I said before, didn't I? Kind of like the Division, where it's like a shared world campaign.
Yeah, instances.
People can drop in and out. Yeah. And then when you finish the campaign, then you have access to the open world, if you will. So maybe while you're doing the campaign, you're in this protected bracket where people can't just jump in and ruin your game for you. But then you finish the campaign, let's say, and then all the safety rails are taken away, and that's it. You're in GTA Online. Well, and it might encourage people to play through the campaign also if you've got to get to that point. Kind of like Division 2 did. You've got to finish the campaign if you want to get anywhere in the open world.
Before you could join your mates,
Yeah.
I mean, regardless of whether it would make sense for them to make it like that because, the multiplayer stuff. But I think upon starting GTA 5 at the very beginning, it could have been permanent online and you would have still been able to do the campaign simply because the weapons and everything back then were nowhere near what they are now.
Yeah.
It's like now you can get hypercars with missile launchers built in and everything else.
Yeah, I hope they go away from the whole jet bike thing, man. It got to a point where if you saw a jet bike, you would have to get your own jet bike to go and blow up the guy in a jet bike, so he would stop blowing you up in the jet bike.
Exactly.
I mean, I get that like GTA is like a exaggerated reality of crime and whatnot, but it's beyond ridiculous now.
Yeah, getting hit by a random satellite cannon is a bit of a pain.
Yeah, that kind of stuff is more at home in Saints Row games.
Yeah.
So Saints Row 3 and Saints Row 4 were absolutely batshit crazy, but that was the theme of the game. That was the style. It was batshit crazy.
With your what was it?
Go on.
Your drum and bass gun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Dubstep gun.
Dubstep gun, that's it. Yeah. And just like running up to people in the street and suplexing them, hilarious.
Yeah, I think it got to the point in GTA where they were like, well, this game's pretty much done. Let's just implement a load of stupidly overpowered stuff just because people will buy it. And
it's like when Call of Duty gets to that part of its life cycle where they start releasing like clown skins for your guns.
Yeah.
When no one gives a shit anymore.
And vintage World one weapons that do
Yeah.
more damage than the latest, tech.
Yeah. It's very. It's lost its way. I think GTA 5. It lost its way for me a long, long time ago. I wasn't particularly hot on it when it first came out, and then I gave it a go for a bit. I think we played online for a little bit, didn't we, Carl?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
And I lost interest really, really quickly. As for the pricing, I don't know why the pricing is different. So it's more specifically, it's $9.99 / pounds, wherever you're from, for the campaign, and the online portion is free if you're a PS Plus member. But only for the next 3 months. After that, the price goes up. But if you're on Xbox, you can either buy the campaign and online bundle for $19.99, or if you're not interested in the campaign, which I don't think many people would be at this point, you can buy the online standalone for $9.99 and not have access to the campaign. So I don't know why, for instance, at the very least, the online isn't coming to either Games with Gold or Game Pass. That's really strange. Well, so much more expensive.
Yeah, but
It's Rockstar
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
yeah,
I think
you
they
can't really excuse what they do.
they realised
It's
that,
really
hey,
down
we
to
make
its
a load of
Rockstar.
money. Let's just thrash this until it's dead. And okay, now it's dead. Let's go out with a bang and just introduce really stupid stuff. Because, the player base is dead already anyway.
Like wacky pricing structures.
Yeah.
How meta.
So, shimmying on before we take about another half hour discussing why a Rockstar a Rockstar.
Yeah.
Next state of play, which is tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
20-minute show dedicated to the one
He's
and
dated
only.
the episode.
No, it's not
Not
I
me.
again.
didn't say a date. I just said tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which is the 17th of March.
Yep.
Now it's dated. So, Hogwarts Legacy.
Woo
Yeah.
woo.
Anyone excited for this?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Day one
yeah.
purchase?
Potentially. Depends what
We'll
the state
see.
of play is like.
We'll see
Well, there's
tomorrow.
20 minutes of it, so it's already
mean-
better than Gran Turismo 7.
To put it into perspective, I think we all grew up roughly around the age where Harry Potter was kind of the big thing when we were, younger.
Yeah. Yeah.
We would have been like
Yeah.
8 to 12, that sort of age range when the first one came out.
Yeah,
So-
it was. For instance, they read it to me at school as part of class.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's how I ended up getting into the books, at least. And then obviously when the films came out, I was like, yeah, sure,
Yeah.
that's easier than reading.
And then the main thing that I'm excited about is, obviously because it's a game, is the games back in the day were actually good.
Yeah, they were fun.
Like the Harry Potter
They
I
games.
think I
were.
played all of them as well. They were good.
They're a
Even
bit
what was it? What's the sport they used to play?
Quidditch.
The Quidditch
Yeah.
World Cup. I played that as well, and that was great.
People said Quidditch
What?
World Cup was actually a good game, surprisingly.
It was a good game. It was such a good game.
even
I
though-
completely forgot about that.
Even though Philosopher's Stone / Sorcerer's Stone, if you're American, was like really janky on the PS1 because it was all blocked polygons and everything, flat
Yeah.
faces. It was the
It was
first.
still a fun game.
Yeah,
It
it
was.
was a step for the casual gamer into, hey, look, this is kind of a 3D sort of open world. Because you can just explore the castle. That counts as open world, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah.
And then the games got better,
think-
They kept with the same theme and then went to the PS2, Goblet of Fire and all that. They were good games. So
Yeah.
I'm surprised this hasn't happened sooner. I think it was due last year. It was meant to come out and it got delayed, was it?
Yeah, probably for the best.
It's always good when a game gets delayed if it means they're working on it a bit longer.
Yeah.
Well, depending. I mean, Halo
Within
got delayed
reason.
a lot.
Yeah.
I keep beating on Halo. I'm just so disappointed for Halo fans. That's all. And some of my friends are huge Halo fans, and they're bored.
I don't think me or Kai were Halo fans. I don't know what you're talking about.
My other friends, they exist
Of course. they are
outside
real
of the
people.
realm of my imagination.
What are we expecting to see in the state of play? Do you reckon they'll show us snippets, like sort of mid-story stuff, or?
I don't know whether we'll see. We might see like an outline of what the goal is. So, you're here to do this, but I think mainly we're gonna see like just like panning shots of areas you can explore and maybe activities you can do, and what I assume there will be a combat system in the game. Surely, we'll probably see some form of
No
combat.
combat at all.
Yeah,
What?
no combat.
Literally, you go to school, sit in class for half hour. That's it.
It's a
If
puzzle
that's the
game.
case, I'm out.
Haven't you heard it's going to be a match 3 game?
It's
Gonna
gonna
be
be
a
a
Telltale
rhythm
game.
game.
Yeah, it's going to be
Guitar Hero.
a DDR Guitar Hero Tetris mashup.
You gotta buy bongo drum peripherals to play
Yeah,
it.
you
Oh,
got to plug in
I-
your alchemy pot to stir it.
Stir faster. No, I can't stir faster.
the bongo drums aren't quick enough.
um, I want to see gameplay. Obviously, I think we are going to see gameplay. I want to see the combat. Like, if there'll be, is it touted as a action RPG? So I want to see skill trees. That's what I want.
Yeah.
I want to see builds. Effectively, I want Harry Potter Elden Ring.
Yeah.
So
Don't ask too much. Now.
no, and also I kind of like historical settings, and obviously this will be a fantasy historical setting, semi-set in the real world as Harry Potter is.
Yeah.
This game's set in the 1800s, isn't it? So this is before anything we've seen in the, as it's now called, the Wizarding World.
Yeah, it's a prequel
And
to before Harry was born kind of thing.
yeah, it's a prequel to Fantastic Beasts, which is obviously set before the Harry Potter films as well.
Yeah.
It's also canon in the Wizarding World. So whilst they say that it's not written by J.K. Rowling, who all of a sudden is a controversial figure, she has nothing to do with this game. She didn't write it. It's just pieced from the lore of the Wizarding World, as they now call it. But it's canon. They've said that this is set in the world, and this counts towards any lore in the world. And obviously, you're creating your own character, so it's, a bit loose on what your character does in the world. But all the set themes in the game will now be part of the story, part of the history of the Harry Potter franchise and whatnot. I think.
So that also moves us on to the next bit. J.K. Rowling, obviously, a recent controversy over some of her comments.
Yeah. Have you seen this, either of you? I
No.
saw it.
Was it the comments from like a year ago or so?
I think so.
She tweeted about a woman is a woman if, X criteria is filled, basically.
Yeah, so it was like controversial LGBTQ plus comments, which people may or may not agree with. I didn't agree with their comments. I'm fairly, relaxed when it comes to anything.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm like a hardcore activist. As far as I'm concerned, live and let live. You can do what you want. Don't preach to me. I'll accept you for who you are. That's fine. But I won't go out in the street and picket your cause because I have my own issues to deal with.
Yeah.
I'm happy for people who are able to find liberty. That's great. But I think we have a lot of virtue signaling with people who want to look as though I'm for this cause, praise me, when really they're not for the cause and they just want the praise, and I can't subscribe to that. I think if you need my help for anything, I will help you as a friend, but I won't picket a cause that I can't legitimately say I'm familiar with, because I don't have any trans friends. I have homosexual friends. I've got bisexual friends. I don't have any trans friends. I can't subscribe. I can't relate to it because I haven't experienced it, and I won't insult people by saying, "Oh yeah, I'm for this cause," when I have genuinely no idea about it. I don't know how people feel because I've never spoken to anyone.
You don't
It's
want to
different.
be an Elon Musk basically by putting your Twitter profile picture as "I support the latest thing."
Exactly, because it would be disingenuous, and I think being disingenuous to a cause is more insulting than not backing the cause feverishly. Because if I had experience with it, and I had a personal connection to someone who I could help by being part of the cause, then sure, great, I would do that. As it stands at the moment, I don't have any connections like that, so I feel as though I would cause more harm than good because I might end up saying something that's completely wrong and damages the cause, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So because of my ignorance at the moment, not intentional ignorance, it's just lack of experience, I'm better removing myself from it and just looking from a distance and saying, you do what you want, I have no problem with it, and I hope that we get to a point where no one else has a problem with it.
I mean, in that one tweet specifically, just that first one, not any of the follow-ups or anything, I don't agree or disagree really, simply because depending on in what context she meant it, it's like,
Yeah.
Yes, she's right from a biological point of view, but she's not right from a you can kind of be whatever you want to be kind of point of view. So it's one of them.
I think that's a very good way of putting it because I agree with that completely. That
she's right and
traditional,
wrong,
traditional biology. Yeah, traditional biology, she's right, and that's traditional biology. And I understand that there are certain skews of what's accepted as general biology and general gender now. But
who thought we'd get all political on a gaming podcast?
I know, yeah. I mean, is it so hard to just let people live?
Yes.
I get she was making a point, and she was making a point that she believed. But sometimes you just don't need to say anything. If you've got a problem with it, then just don't say anything. Because what harm is it doing? Unless it starts really adversely affecting my life for whatever reason. I don't know. I can't think of any situations because, like I said, I haven't really put that much thought into it. But as it stands, trans rights, bi rights, gay rights have had zero negative effect on my life and probably never will. So, fine, as far as I'm concerned.
Decent. I guess with that closing comment, we're going to move on.
Yeah.
Microsoft contracted publishers ahead of showcase set for June, according to GameBeat's Jeff Grubb.
Not to be confused with GameBeat.
Yeah,
Game Chronicles sources,
not affiliated.
E3 skipping its third year. Xbox could be taking the spotlight. What do you reckon?
Yeah, so
maybe like an Xbox version of E3.
Yeah. Oh, what do you reckon? I'll let you start because I keep jumping in it.
Oh no, I've got no opinions on this one, to be honest.
God damn it! Yeah, well, E3's been cancelled again. That sucks. Every year as a tradition, I usually, book time off work, stay up all night. Obviously, being in the UK, E3's on at ridiculous times. I usually just book work off and watch E3 through the night with a takeaway and a drink, and sometimes I've had some friends over and we watched it together because E3 used to be this genuinely exciting time of the year where we'd see the short-term future of gaming. True. And now we don't really have that because E3 keeps getting cancelled. Mainly because of the pandemic, and I get that.
Yeah. But if Xbox goes ahead, you said there's set to be some big games. Do you reckon that'll be like the new sort of Street Fighter and whatnot? Maybe they'll try and get some big, proper, I don't know, decent games that are console exclusive to try and show off as well?
Well, with Street Fighter, entirely depends whether Street Fighter's coming to Xbox at all, isn't it? We still don't know whether it's going to be multi-platform. Obviously, Street Fighter 5 was PlayStation exclusive. I can't really talk to the rest. I'm not that well versed on Street Fighter, but
yeah, it's going to be PlayStation Switch only.
Is that confirmed? Or are you just being a dick?
Could you imagine? Switch gets it, but Xbox doesn't.
There's no way. I'm hoping genuinely that this show, if it's real, because it's only rumored at the moment, will fill that gap of exciting gaming news in the June time, and B, give me a reason to buy an Xbox. Because the last time I almost had a reason to buy an Xbox was Scalebound, and that got cancelled.
And that did look really good as well.
I thought it looked amazing. I thought it looked so good, and I was distraught when they cancelled it. So that game must have been in some terrible state behind the scenes.
Yeah, probably was. Yeah.
I don't know what we're going to see though. Like maybe we'll see upcoming Halo content, which will like revive the interest in the Halo Infinite game. Maybe we'll see years.
This is the exact reason I haven't been psyched for E3 in years. Is it keeps getting cancelled for one, and the fact
Yeah.
that all these other developers, like Sony, now have their own thing with mini state of plays as well throughout the year, and Xbox have their own like dedicated thing, like festival or event or whatever it's whatever they're called.
Yeah.
And then even some developers or publishers have their own thing throughout the year. Like Ubisoft might have a random one, or some offset indie publisher might have their own little private event.
I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, Sony has pulled out of E3 effectively even before it started to get cancelled. So that was a big part of the E3 that I enjoyed gone. The showcases from publishers being throughout the year. I think really that kind of kicked off with the pandemic, making their own shows and whatnot. Everyone started to jump on the trend that Nintendo was doing because they stayed away from E3 and had their own Nintendo Directs, just coincidentally at the same time as E3.
Yeah.
But that's what made E3 good, was it had the best of a load of,
Yeah, it was where everyone was really revealing all of their biggest stuff.
Yeah.
All at the same time, and it was like a fever dream of, holy shit, this is happening from this one, and oh my god, they're doing this, and oh, I wonder what's going to come up next. And really now, it's not
you get
as
them,
impactful.
but they're spaced out.
Yeah, and it's like being drip fed big news, but then you forget about it quickly because it's not all at once, and you're like, as soon as in the old days, you talk about E3 and you'd be like, yeah, they announced this, and then it leads you on to the next thing. You're like, oh yeah, and then so and so announced this. But now we're like, oh, Sony had their state of play the other day, and so was announced, and that's the end of the conversation. And then a few weeks down the line, oh, Capcom revealed Street Fighter. Okay, yeah, that's the end of that conversation. It's not all tied together because it all wasn't part of the same event anymore, and it's not as big of a talking point when it's all spread out.
It would be nice if they could get it back, to like the old glory days of E3 when it was,
Yeah, damn it, E3. We could have milked that out for 3 weeks if you were still
listening. Yeah. I mean, commercially, it doesn't really make sense, does it? Because as a publisher / developer, you've got to pay for a space on the floor. You've got to travel to E3. You've got to put together like a demo reel for your game, which will obviously be a different SKU from the actual main game. You've got to jump through all these hoops to produce a show for people who are going to watch it online when you could just as easily and far more cheaply produce a video by yourself in the comfort of your own studio, whatever, and have the same delivery to people who are going to watch it online.
Pop-up tent outside your HQ and say, right.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
You shit, just take a camera around the office and start talking about your games. Starfield. That's something that popped up today that I saw. Starfield. They've just released like a developer talk, and they just sat around a table with Todd Howard, talking about Starfield. This is a very nicely dressed up room, but it didn't cost them, tens of thousands of dollars for a half-hour slot because it's probably in their office, I'd imagine, with a camera set up. E3 doesn't commercially make sense anymore because of the easy access to all media that we have in these days.
Yeah, it's so easy to get any answer you need, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know what do you both reckon, other than games, are we going to see anything else at this Xbox showcase? Do you reckon they'll start talking about plans for the acquisitions they've made, or any acquisitions they might be making, or are we going to see a new acquisition? That'd be interesting.
I mean, maybe, but I think they're going to focus on mainly games. They might have some new software that hasn't been released yet, and maybe you'll get something like that show up, which would be pretty cool. But yeah, I don't think they want to go delve too deep into the
controversy of
acquisition until it's properly finished and guaranteed.
Isn't there a new SKU of Xbox console being rumored? I saw some murmurings of that on the interwebs. That allegedly there's a new console in development, probably similar to how Xbox One had the Xbox One X or the PS4 had the PS4 Pro. It's pure rumor, but there's no smoke without fire, as they say.
You sure it's not going to be a Wish console? Like, the Arctic 7491.
I don't know. I really don't know much about it. I saw it in passing on some timeline of some sort that allegedly there's a new Xbox SKU of console, and I don't know what purpose it's going to fill. And if it's going to be more powerful than the X, or if it's going to be between the S and X, or
it's going to be the Y.
The Y. Oh my God, it's going to be the Y.
And it's going to be dirt cheap, but it's just going to be the shell, nothing inside it.
It's just like a Chromecast
Xbox
dongle.
Ultra Light Edition.
Oh shit! What if it is like a Chromecast dongle? You just plug it in your TV and it works. It's just like purely a Game Pass streaming
digital only.
machine.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus! I think I've just. Oh no.
We've opened up a can of worms here,
maybe. If this turns out to be exactly what it is, I want this moment noted in everyone's minds, right? I will become the Microsoft insider. I have nothing more to say on the Xbox showcase, really, because I have no idea.
What are you going to have about the new initiative, The Left in the Dark, Perfect Dark's game director? Dan Newberger. He's left. What a shame, isn't it? After 3.5 years at the studio.
What a shame.
What a shame. I don't know. I had nothing terrible to say about him. He's did alright for what he did. Tomb Raider series and that.
Mm-hmm.
The rebooted one. I never got around to playing that.
Not the original. The original you can't beat.
I never got around to playing the reboot Tomb Raiders. They looked okay for the time, but I don't think you could go back and play them now.
What does that mean for Perfect Dark? Do you reckon it's in trouble?
Yes, nothing good. More's come out with this story since I typed this up. So I've actually gone and looked for a list of staff at the initiative. So it started. Bear with me a sec as I get this all up. I'm feverishly trying to gather all the information that I've got. So you'll have to bear with me because I'm going to hijack the show now. The initiative was made up of industry veterans, and famously, they marketed a role at their studio as being for a quadruple A studio. So we've got triple A studios, double A studios. The initiative touted themselves as a quadruple A studio. That turned out to be a typo, but the meme was born. The initiative was supposed to be Xbox's quadruple A premier studio. And it was born of staff from Naughty Dog, Santa Monica, Crystal Dynamics, Insomniac. Interestingly enough, the majority of them being Sony studios, so fanboys went crazy when, Xbox is stealing all of Sony's talent. Not so much.
How dare they?
I mean, it's great. The idea of the initiative at first was supposed to be quadruple A. That turned out not to be the case. Then it kind of evolved into, the initiative is to be like a concept studio, so they start off a game, make the concept, do the groundwork, build the foundation, and then hand it over to another studio, which is how I understand it to be now. So Crystal Dynamics is now involved and is understood to be the lead of the Perfect Dark reboot. Whereas when it was first announced that Crystal Dynamics was co-developing Perfect Dark, everyone was like, "Oh shit, what's wrong with the initiative?" And then it was downplayed, and they're like, "No, it's fine. This is normal. This is what they were supposed to do." But now this has all come out that almost half of their workforce in the last year has left the studio, and there is no way you can tell me that a studio doesn't have problems if half of the workforce leaves. And I just want to go through this list. And it might take me a second, but I think it's important to name the staff that have left and where they came from. Oh, well, where they went and where they came from. So we'll go studio order from where they originated from and where they went. So from Naughty Dog, we had Sylvia Chambers as an animator, left to join Insomniac Games. Ryan Trowbridge, tech art director, didn't work as a tech art director at Naughty Dog, so he went into a role that he wasn't familiar with. Lee Davis, lead gameplay animator, joined Deviation Games, which I think is now a Sony studio. Not entirely sure of that, might be wrong. Tyler Thorncock, principal technical animator, didn't leave to go anywhere, just left. Isaac Yeram Kim returned to Naughty Dog. Say Jones left in 2020. Francisco, I'm just going to go for the first names here. It's going to go a while. Francisco wasn't senior in Naughty Dog, but was promoted to a senior gameplay engineer. But Ryan wasn't senior in Naughty Dog. Lauren Manuel Garcia Caro returned to Naughty Dog. I'm butchering these names, and I'm not going to pronounce that second name. Returned to Naughty Dog from Santa Monica, obviously famously God of War developers. Ian Miller, senior designer, just left. Kai Zhang left in 2021. Eric Jacobson, he was senior in Santa Monica. He became a principal environment artist. Ray Yeoman, senior designer, just left. Chris O'Neill, lead level designer, wasn't senior in Santa Monica, left to go to Riot Games. Brian Westergaard, director of production, he was a lead producer in Santa Monica. Jonathan Chavez, associate producer, never worked in Santa Monica, so that was an erroneous listing. Sarah Swenson, environment artist, went and joined Naughty Dog. Originally from Crystal Dynamics, who are now co-developing Perfect Dark. Remy Lacoste, experiential director, whatever that is, just left, didn't go anywhere. Lindsay McQueenie, HR. Well,
even the HR's leaving. Jeez.
Not creative. Daniel Steamer, lead technical director, wasn't senior in Crystal Dynamics, so he was promoted. Dan Newberger, obviously we've just spoke about that. He's just left. He hasn't gone anywhere. He was the game director. Victor Chavez, I'm poor at this. He was a senior animator at the Initiative, but he wasn't senior in Crystal Dynamics where he came from. From Insomniac Games, you had Jason Priest, lead artist, just left. Joey Tan, associate technical designer, he left. Drew Murray, design director, he returned to Insomniac Games to work on Wolverine. Giovanni Martinez, senior environmental artist, he just left to go nowhere. All of these senior roles have either just left to go nowhere or returned to their previous studio or returned to another Sony studio, or in the one case, just went off to Riot Games. There's something very wrong going on at the Initiative, and I can only think that it would be poor management on Microsoft's behalf, because the stories that have come out recently are that progress in development was incredibly slow and frustrating. The heads of the studio, Dan Newberger and Drew Murray, they have what they say top-down approach to development, where effectively they tell everyone what to do and they expect it done. Whereas all the team they were working for had a bottom-up approach, so they come up with the ideas, they pitch the ideas to management, and then management make a decision. So management had a completely different way of operating than their staff did. So effectively, no decisions were being made, no development was getting done. And because Microsoft reportedly, this is all just reported, Microsoft reportedly had a very hands-off approach at managing this studio. So that just exacerbated the problem that nothing was getting done. So the management of the initiative weren't making decisions. Microsoft weren't forcing the management to make decisions. The staff weren't having decisions made for them, so they were directionless. It was like a ship without a rudder.
And also, so Deviation Games is indeed under the PlayStation
Yeah,
Studios
okay.
umbrella.
I thought I'd heard of them before. Yeah. I think this studio is in trouble. Crystal Dynamics is now understood to lead the Perfect Dark reboot, and as far as I can tell, the reboot has been rebooted. So I fail to see the purpose of the initiative. I think they were only formed in 2018, so in a span of what, 4-ish years, they've lost half of their staff. And yes, turnover's normal in the development industry, in the games industry for developers, but that's usually at the end of a project. So, story writers, the lead story writer will leave when the story's written. And that might be years before the game's finished. But that's normal because they've written the story. The job is done. They move on to their next project. This game isn't finished. This game hasn't even effectively been started, and they've lost half the staff. We also saw mismanagement with 343 with Halo Infinite, because we can tell by the way that the game was released. They had so much time to deal with the problems that they had, but lots and lots of time isn't always good, because they spent all that time and still released a product that didn't have the core features of the franchise. So it didn't have campaign co-op. It didn't have Forge. Multiplayer has had no new content since its release. There's something very wrong with Microsoft's management, and I worry that all of the studios that have since been acquired by Microsoft
Are all
the
going to
exception
go
of
down the
Bethesda.
same road.
Yeah, the exception of Bethesda, because we know that they're allowed to just continue autonomously.
Do what they want,
yeah. So they'll manage themselves, and they've been doing a great job of that for years and years and years. I suppose it's questionable how great a job they were doing, since they ended up being acquired, so they clearly needed some form of financial backing, probably after Fallout 76. But Activision, Phil Spencer's already come out quite publicly and said, right, when the acquisition's gone through, I will lead Activision. But Phil Spencer leads the initiative, who were only supposed to be a concept studio, and they've failed to produce a concept of a reboot, or effectively the groundwork is done.
It sounds like something behind closed doors has definitely sort of happened. Whether it's they're all jumping ship to save their own skin in something that's upcoming, or
poor little Jeff down in accounting hasn't been told. So.
Or it could just
Where's
be
everyone gone?
Hey guys, I brought the donut.
Microsoft might have just told the higher ups and sort of, given the right people a nudge, saying, "Look, leave quick because we're dissolving the place."
Yeah.
I don't see why this just wasn't given to Crystal Dynamics in the first place. What was the purpose of the initiative starting this project? It's supposed to be a concept studio, so they're supposed to birth an idea and hand it over in a form where it can just be fleshed out. That's not what's happened, because reportedly nothing has happened. I could understand if it was a new IP. They're coming up with a concept for a new IP. They need to come up with new lore. They need to come up with new characters. They need to come up with a new theme, design.
That's all the hard work there.
Yeah, Perfect Dark is an existing IP. It's a reboot, sure, but you don't reboot a spy action thriller to be a JRPG. You reboot it to still be a spy action thriller. action thriller, whatever you want to call it, just in a different direction, maybe.
Yeah,
So
like tweaks here and there, but you don't want to change the core
Yeah.
gameplay. Though.
yeah, I would argue that Final Fantasy VII Remake is actually a reboot because they didn't remake Final Fantasy VII. They rebooted it because the chronology is different.
Yeah,
Spoilers. I won't tell you what though.
and there's a lot. It leaves the end game open to the next in the series, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So we don't really know what we're going to get in the second installment because it's so open.
And I don't think remake will be in the title of the sequel, because that would be pointless.
It'll probably just be like Final Fantasy 2000,
Semicolon.
whatever. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
The
Like
year it
Final
was
Fantasy
released.
VII, Dirge of Cerberus, but obviously with the name of what this will be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a reboot, Final Fantasy VII, because they changed story elements. It changed the direction of where the game was going. It wasn't a like-for-like remake. But the concept was there. It was about eco-terrorists. It was about really long, shiny-haired, silver dude with really big sword and aliens. And if you've never
And
played Final
aliens.
Fantasy before, you're welcome.
That actually can shimmy on to our next Dead Space.
Oh,
Dead
what a
Space is coming
segue!
back. Little segue on that one. Talking of remakes and reboots.
hmm
Yeah, man. So over 20 minutes has been seen of remake footage and confirmed an early 2023 release window.
Mm.
What's our thoughts on this one? We looking forward to a bit of Dead Space?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a very, very quiet, long wait for a yes. Did you play
Yes.
the original Dead Space?
Yes.
Kyle, you seem a bit quiet in the corner there.
Yeah, I played them like, obviously years ago on the PC, but
Mm.
it was never one that I got massively into. It was a good game. I played through it,
Mm.
but I just, sometimes you just play games and you finish them, and you're just like, well, that was alright.
I really enjoyed Dead Space 1. Really, 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 really enjoyed Dead Space 1. But the only reason I tentatively say yes is because it's EA. And EA killed Visceral Games, the developers behind the original Dead Space. EA was solely responsible for how terrible Dead Space 3 was. They turned it into a co-op action game. Whereas Dead Space 1 and 2, arguably Dead Space 1 is the best, in my opinion. Dead Space 2 was still good. It was just slightly less scary, and it made you felt more able to take on the challenge in Dead Space 2, in my opinion. Dead Space 3 was a
Resident Evil
early
5 wannabe, basically.
Yeah, I'd even say Resident Evil 6.
I
It
forgot that one
introduced
existed.
microtransactions to what was supposed to be a horror franchise. So you could pay to win Dead Space and invite a friend along. It's nuts. And then when Dead Space 3 failed, to everyone's surprise, apparently, it killed Visceral Games. They said, "You have not performed, you are gone." And they shut it down. Even though it was all EA's fault, because they mandated the microtransactions, they mandated the co-op element, they mandated the action twist to what was a horror franchise, and now they're bringing it back, and they're not even they can't bring it back from Visceral because they're gone. They're bringing it back
They're not
with
even
Motive.
trying to reinstate Visceral to do anything.
No. So Motive are doing it, and I don't think I'm aware of any previous work of Motive. I'll Google it quickly if you want to say what you think about this.
Kyle?
It's not for me, so.
I mean, I love the original. The original was like really,
The original
really
was
so
good.
much fun.
And
It's like
I think
running through with the little saw gun, just taking off limbs and just going through like nothing. It kind of took the horror element out of it, yeah, but you know, it was fun. You still had a decent amount of jump scares. And was it number 2? I think it was right at the start of 2 when the first sort of couple of minutes you had some monster just come through some dude's face.
Yeah.
And you had to try and escape. See, that was fun.
Which
But
was it 1 or 2 with the eye surgery?
I think that was the first one.
First,
I want to
wasn't
say.
it? I think.
Yeah.
With the laser drill thing through the eye.
Yeah.
Mm.
What a great.
Ugh.
What a great.
Ugh.
Yeah, I still thinking about it now. It gives me a shiver in my
It's
spine.
cringe.
But yeah, you know, that was part of the fun of Dead Space. And then
Love
obviously 3 they butchered. I'm just
Well-
hoping with this remake they just don't try to touch it too much. Give it better graphics, give it a nice little extra, but don't mess with the story. Leave it.
I think the biggest letdown of Dead Space 3 wasn't the microtransactions, it wasn't the co-op, it was the fact that like the fun of Dead Space 1 and 2 was you're using effectively engineer tools to fight your way through alien hordes, and that was so cool. Like, you know, everyone as a kid ran around with a stapler and shot it at people. Thank God no one gave me a nail gun.
I even enjoyed the way they did the HUD, like your life meter and stuff.
Yeah, on the back, on the spine.
It was so good. Running around so happy about it, you're destroying your room.
Oh, here we go. Motive. Previous games. Star Wars Squadrons and Battlefront 2. That's it.
Okay.
That's all I've done.
Squadrons was alright, I guess.
Oh, I'm not saying that these games aren't good. It's just they're not horror games.
Yeah, which does lead you a bit confused, but you never know. Everybody gets to try something once, right?
I think Motive are technically capable. They're very talented studio. I mean, for all the controversy around Battlefront 2, it was a very well-made game, and Squadrons was also a very, very well-made game, which exceeded
insanely amazing.
Exactly. So there's no doubt in my mind that Motive will do a good job with the remake, but EA being involved, and obviously they would be because they own the IP, makes me worry.
Looking out for the microtransactions again.
Yeah, it better not. I'm hoping they've learnt their lesson with Jedi Fallen Order, in the sense that single-player games can sell and can make money.
You heard the rumours about the second one coming out as well?
No.
Fallen Order 2, yeah. It's in making.
Okay. Did you play Fallen Order, Kyle?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it's effectively Dark Souls Star Wars.
Nice.
Yeah.
A bit easier than Dark Souls though. It's got the
much easier, and you've got force powers, so.
Yeah. Technically running through it on easy mode.
Yeah, pretty much. Did either of you see the developer conversation around the Dead Space remake and this Alive system thing, which looks pretty cool? I don't know if either of you watched the video.
I didn't manage to see it, unfortunately.
It's essentially, so hang on, let me get my notes up. The Alive system stands for Adrenaline, Limbic System Response, Intelligent Dialogue, Vitals, and Exertion. And it's essentially how Isaac, the main character, if you're not aware, reacts to injuries, his surroundings, how tense the situation is, whether he's scared, whether he's calm, whether he's been sprinting for too long and he gets tired, and effectively the breathing changes and his vocals change, and it's a bit weird. You're listening to clips of just some dude breathing in different ways. But when you apply that to a horror setting, I can really see how that would improve the immersion.
What's the name of the old game? Fear? Was it Fear? Something like that?
Oh yeah, Fear, yeah.
You walk through and it's got that sort of, the screen starts shaking and stuff if you start getting too scared.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that sort of
wasn't that also
that sort
in
of building.
Amnesia as well?
Amnesia, yeah, with the madness and things.
As well, yeah.
Yeah, I think I think that's what they're aiming for with this, what they call the Alive system, because they've got, and they show like complicated flowcharts of how the coding will loop to different elements of breathing and how Isaac moves depending on what situation he's in and how much damage you've taken, and if you're tired and injured at the same time, it'll then skew off to another way of how he reacts to things, and it gives you like a visual and audio cue of your current state in the game. So like you were saying, it was really clever of how they included the health bar on the spine of the suit in the original game. So we'll still have that, but now on top of that, we also have how your breathing sounds and how you're moving. If you're moving like with a slight limp, and it'll obviously affect how you can escape and maneuver around enemies.
Yeah, you might stumble or something like that.
Yeah, and it looks really good. And I wanted to specifically ask both of you this question because I think it might be important to the experience. But and this isn't just for horror games, does the immersion of a game affect your enjoyment of it? So can you just sit back and play a game and enjoy it, but be fully aware that you just sat in your living room or bedroom playing a game? Or have you played a game which really sucks you in, you're consumed by it, and you're like, right, I'm there, I'm in it? Because I've certainly with Horizon, when I first started playing it, was completely immersed in the environment, but then that wore off because, like I said, Matt
The
Marcus.
pain.
Yeah. So horror games, Resident Evil
I think
7.
yeah, immersion is very important when it comes to certain games like that. Because if you're sat, like you said, and you know you're sat in your living room playing it, the scare factor isn't there as much, you know.
Exactly.
Whereas if you like the VR version of Resident Evil, imagine the people sat in there, like, you know what I mean? You're literally in it. You're in it looking round, and it is you. Next thing you know, you got some old dude trying to check a pitchfork at you. It's like,
I mean,
You
for
know what I
instance, whenever I played Resident Evil 7, I only ever played it at night, and I played it with the lights off and the curtains closed. I didn't play it in the day, and I didn't play it with the lights on, because it
and it
made the
changes your outlook
experience.
of the game completely, doesn't it?
Yeah, because if you play it in the day, it's not scary. For me. Because I don't feel as though I'm vulnerable. And I know it's like a weird thing to say, but when you're in the dark and you're playing something scary, it's easier to immerse yourself in the horror of the game because
You've only
you
got one
don't.
light showing, and it is that
Yeah.
screen, that horror. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Carl? Immersion?
Yep. Elden Ring.
Say
When I'm playing
no
it, I'm
more.
like zoned at the TV, and when I die, I scream "fuck" at the top
Yeah.
of my lungs. Like, that's my immersion.
And I think I actually wanted to raise this about Elden Ring. I think Elden Ring is like a low-key horror game, but I'll explain. You're so tense and on edge at every single moment. You know,
Yeah.
you're going through the level and you're like, oh, I've hacked down this enemy, I've overcome this challenge, but where's the next grace point? You know, is it going to be around this corner, or am I going to get skewered?
Yeah. Scared of dying.
Yeah, so it's not a horror game. It makes you just as tense, and it really nails the risk of just exploring, and it really makes you value staying alive. Because, and again, I'll compare this to Horizon. When you die in Horizon, it doesn't matter at all, because the checkpoints are so generous. The auto-saving is so generous. You'll at most lose 5 minutes of progress.
Am I right in thinking there is no full damage in this game?
There
Or
is full
it's
damage.
very gracious.
It's very generous.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it's
I've seen a
more
few
generous
videos of
than.
people who just jump off the edge, land on a little edge down below, but they've taken like
Yeah.
next to no damage.
It's more generous than previous Souls games. But the problem with that is I'm not used to it yet. So I look at a fall, like for the instance, the one we were talking about earlier, Carl, with the jump puzzle.
Yeah.
And you get to this like bit, and you're like, can I survive that fall? And I was like toying with it, and I checked the blood stains around to see if anyone had gone down this bit.
Yeah.
And they'd all died for stupid reasons, like just falling off the other edge. I was like,
Yeah.
right, okay, there's no blood stains telling me that. And if you don't know, if you haven't played a Soulsborne game before, a blood stain is essentially another player that has died, and it shows you how they died. So you play it like a mini video of what they fucked up with, essentially.
They
There were no bloodstains of anyone
all look
falling
like
down this
lemons
bit.
going off the
Yeah,
edge.
yeah, pretty much. Well, the one guy, I checked the bloodstain. I was like, how the hell did this guy die? And he's like stood on the wall, and he tries to jump up a little bit higher, even though there's clearly nothing there. And then he clearly just gives up, so he just wants to go back down to the ledge. But instead of going down to the ledge, he just yeets himself off the side. I'm like, oh no! So I was quite confident that I could make this fall. So I just, did the safety roll down, even though it makes absolutely no difference whatsoever. And I landed fine. It did look quite far, and any other Soulsborne game, you'd have died. So it's more generous. There is fall damage though, because I did fall to my death, and I was really fucking pissed about it. I couldn't get back down to the rooms. And you can double jump with your horse. So I think you can abuse that by falling a bit and then maybe double jumping. I'm not sure if it works. I haven't really tried it out properly yet. It's just a thought. Have you fallen to your death yet, Kyle?
Yeah, a couple of times.
Couple of times.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I was being stupid, basically. I was messing around on.
Is there an invisible wall here?
No, I was messing around on the horse. Like, there was two like giant stone shards, basically. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna climb up the top of one. And I thought, oh, okay, this is just because you can. And then there was a message, and it was
Because there's
like,
a jump button.
yeah, and it was like, oh, praise the message. I was like, yeah, fun. And then there was the other stone bit was kind of vertical, but a good like chunk downwards. I thought, yeah, I can make it onto that, and I jumped on it and I missed, and I just hit the floor beneath it. So the fall damage to the spike was okay, but the fall damage beneath that was not. And because I was stubborn, I went back up to the top, collected my souls, and tried it again.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm not sure how we got onto Elden Ring again, but I'm grateful.
Because I was talking
Because
about
Elden Ring.
being like
Immersion. That was it. Yeah.
Immersion.
Being engrossed.
And to be fair, it is. Elden Ring's an incredibly immersive game because it's one of those that if you take your eye off the ball, you'll probably die.
Yeah, it's the same as any Souls game.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, that Sekiro Shadows Die Twice was an amazing game.
The only Soulsborne game I haven't played. I don't know why I haven't played.
I'd say to go and get it, give it a try, just play it a bit. I know now you got this and you're going to be spending a lot of time on this, but
oh yeah, maybe
always go back to Sekiro, man. That game was really good.
I think the problem was when Sekiro came out, I'm pretty sure I was playing Neo at the time. Which is obviously a Souls-like, different developer, different publisher, but similar. Much more forgiving. Still very hard though.
I think I started playing that one as well, but I got about halfway through it.
I got right to the end, but I just never finished it. Yeah, I am at the end of the game. I just never finished it. I don't know why. I think it was a PS Plus game. Pretty sure I played it because it came on PS Plus, and it was around the time Sekiro came out. Or Sekiro, however you pronounce it.
Yeah. So that leads us on to our last bit, I believe.
Our last bit,
does.
yeah.
Our last bit, game releases.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just chuck this in.
So we've got a few. Obviously, GTA 5 and the GTA Online upgrades coming out pretty soon.
Yesterday. March
Yesterday.
15th. I mean, no, not dating this episode.
No, you dated it, that's it.
Too late now, no going back. Also, same day, 2 Point Hospital, Speedy Recovery DLC.
Okay.
Anyone ever played 2
game?
Point Hospital?
Game of the year.
Yeah.
Game of the year.
It was essentially a theme hospital.
Tunic coming out today.
Yep.
Curious Expedition 2 tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Along with Highlands of Avalon DLC. PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. Same day, yeah. Pretty insane. But Dark Deity for the Switch. Also on the 17th. You got Persona 4 Arena Ultimax.
Of course.
Startenders. This means Warp and WRC 10.
World Rally Championship, though, isn't it?
I actually forgot they still made games.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And on the
maybe
Switch.
that's why it's only coming out on the Switch.
And only in Europe.
and only in Europe. Yeah. And on the 18th, you've got Royal Frontier coming out PC, PS4, basically all the consoles.
Yeah.
Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin.
Hmm.
That I'm looking forward to.
Me too.
And who pressed mute on Uncle Marcus? I'm not going to say I know that game or I
It was
even
me.
heard of that game.
I pressed
but-
mute.
Yeah,
Can
poor
we
Uncle Marcus.
can we just like for a second just briefly talk about Stranger of Paradise?
We've done.
Cause weeb time. We haven't had any weeb time yet. We've had plenty of Elden Ring time. Weeb time. This game has received such a mixed reception. I'm not concerned about it at all because I know I'll enjoy it. I'm not going to get to it yet because I'm going to finish Elden Ring first. It's definitely next on the list, even above Ghostwire Tokyo, which is out soon. End of the month, I think. But I think it got 74 on Metacritic, which is fine. Round about the region that what do you call it? The game you were recently playing. Oh my god, Kyle.
Days
Motorbike.
Gone?
Thank you. God, how could I forget Days Gone?
What game are you on about?
No. Roughly around the same score as Days Gone. I think 70s are fine. I think people are too hung up on, oh, it needs to be a 90. It doesn't need to be a 90. 90 is like an excellent masterpiece. 80 is just shy of being a masterpiece. 70 plus is a good game. Below 70, I'm gonna start getting concerned. Why is it getting below 70? Stranger Paradise, I think, got 74 last time I checked. That's fine. I'm happy with that because it's like a niche version of a niche genre. Well, Final Fantasy not niche, but not everyone likes JRPGs. Not everyone likes Soulsborne games, and this is a Soulsborne JRPG.
So it says it's an action role-playing game.
Yeah. It is an action role-playing game. It's made by Team Ninja.
Yeah, but decent people.
Yeah, so it is, having played the demo, it is. Oh, God, this is such a cliche.
Eurogamer say it's right there. One of their reviews is a trashy Souls-like that packs surprising depth.
Yeah, perfect.
You know.
Yeah, it is a cliche to say things are Souls-like, but it's true. And it's just batshit crazy. And the clips I've seen, it's like it knows that it hasn't spent a lot of time on developing deep relationships with the characters, but it plays on it. So Jack, the main character, terrible name. There's literally a scene in the game, and it's one of the first scenes where the three main characters meet, and it's Jack, Jed, and Ash, which is the name I forgot last time we were talking about. Jack, Jed, Ash. All three awful names. They meet for the first time in this cutscene, and Jed's like, the crystals led us to one another. And then Ash is like, yeah. And then Jack's like, my mission's to kill chaos. And the other two are just like,
completely different conversations going on.
And then the other two are like, it's a good job, we've got the same blah, blah, blah. And then they just like fist bump each other, bearing in mind that this is the first moment they've met and they've spent less than a minute with each other. And then they go off on this adventure together. And then so that sets the premise of the character building. You know nothing about these three other than they want to kill chaos.
Good old chaos.
And then a clip later in the story, and it doesn't spoil any story. She ain't got a fucking clue what's going on. Jack's talking to someone. Oh, someone's talking to Jack, sorry. And he effectively, he doesn't literally do this, but he effectively, talk to the hand moment, like, shut up. I'm just here to kill chaos. So where there was about to be some lore building and about to be some like story exposition, Jack's like, no story here. I'm just here to kill chaos, and then he just fucks off out the scene. And I think that plays to the game's strength because it knows what it is. It doesn't have a proper story. You're just there to beat the shit out of stuff and kill chaos. That is all you're there to
Yeah,
do.
screw you, Chaos.
Screw you, Chaos. So
Here
if
to
you would
kill
like
you.
to kill Chaos, you can on March the 18th.
Oh,
Very
Or
much
you
so.
could buy any Sonic game and kill Chaos. That
No!
no,
No! Stranger
there's
of
too
Paradise
many
only.
Chaoses in there.
There's only one Chaos to kill.
Well, that brings us down to our closing comments.
Yeah.
Any open?
I'm gonna go play Elden Ring.
I think we're all on the same boat on that
I
one.
mean, it's a good game. I know we're hyping it up, but it is fun. Like, I only have one gripe with it so far,
Yeah.
and that is, and I only realised this probably a few days ago, but it kind of niggles me as well, because I should be taking advantage of it, but I'm not. In, say, Dark Souls 3 and all that,
Mhm.
or any of the Dark Souls games, far away, there was no fast travel. Fast travel
Yes.
didn't exist. Now, in Elden Ring,
Yeah.
you
It
can,
did, kind of. You had to unlock it, though.
yeah, you had to unlock it, but it was done by a series of shortcuts, like elevators, lifts, levers,
Yeah.
ladders. That's still in this game. That's fine. Totally get that. That's fine. The problem is, I'd argue that part of the difficulty of Dark Souls is from going from one bonfire to another. And the difficulty in this game should be from going of one mark of grace to another.
Yep.
But the problem being is that if you get stuck and you're like, oh crap, I don't know where it is, and I'm out of Estus flasks or whatever they're called in this version,
Yeah.
what am I gonna do? Do I backtrack all the way and have to go through this section again, or what? You can just, as long as you're not in a fight or no enemies can see you, you can just fast travel anywhere you want
Yeah.
and immediately go back to the beginning.
Easy mode
Curiously,
game.
I actually appreciate that because there's a couple of things I appreciate that I forgot. Oh my god, I'm talking about Elden Ring again. But anyway, I'm
Yeah.
going to go with it. There's a couple of things I appreciate that I like the fast travel thing because if I get like senselessly lost, then I can just reposition myself. I'm still going to have to go through that area again and fight it, but take it in a different way. Um, And also, it was the difficulty really tied to the fact you couldn't fast travel because you could have just backtracked through the areas that you already killed the enemies. It's just a time saver, really, and I think it's important because it's an open world game. So if you had to sprint from one area of that map to the other, and by the way, this map is massive.
It's huge. No, I get that. I get the traveling bit, but my gripe is probably where you're at in the castle, where there is a certain mark of grace where there's basically 3 paths off from it, and you
Yeah.
can go anyway, and you can go from like being on the the ramparts, the walls of the castle, and you can jump down and be on the floor of the castle. But
Yeah.
if you jump down and you've got no Estus flask, you're like, oh crap,
That's
where's the
that's a
next
good
one?
point.
That's the point where you just go, oh, I could just go back to where I came from. Doesn't matter.
That's a good point.
That's
But if
where
you're
is a bit bad, I reckon, is the fact that if you made that decision to get down there and you are stuck and you are lost, that's the whole point of a Souls game, is get yourself lost and figure out where the next point of safety is.
Yeah, that is a good point. You still get that feeling, like I said earlier, with trying to forge ahead and trying to get further. You've still got that feeling of where's the next site of grace or whatever they're called. For instance, as I was going through the castle and I was making my way up the ramparts, I was like, I've come so far. I need to find that next spot. I need to, solidify my position in this castle. I don't want to lose this progress. I don't want to have to go all through that again. So you can still get that satisfaction of forging your way through and finding the next spot. I do. Yeah, I see your point though. That if you just royally fuck up, it doesn't have to result in death. Now you can kind of
it's
like
a
cheat
mini
your way
gripe.
out of it.
Yeah, that if you
Yeah.
are in a place that's got multiple levels and tiers and you go the wrong way, and then you make it, you think, right, I'm going to jump down here and there's no way back up. You should be shafted because you made that decision.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I kind of I must have screwed myself over really because I got royally lost and ended up dying, and I could have just teleported back, but I didn't.
Yeah, I've done the
But I
same
forgot.
thing. That's
To
why
be
I'm
fair.
salty about it, that I didn't think.
Yeah. But also, I want to say that I really like the fact, and I don't know if you've actually noticed this or not, because it only occurred to me by accident, really. You only expend stamina during combat. So you can sprint infinitely when you're out of combat, which is great because it's an open world game.
Oh, I didn't realise. I thought it still took stamina away. You just couldn't
Yeah,
see the bar going down while you were out of combat.
No, if you can just I've just sprinted infinitely across the map, and when I get into combat, my stamina bar's full after sprinting.
Oh right.
I don't know if that's because I've got light armor on or what. I don't know if it's different if you got heavy armor, but as far as I've noticed so far, I feel like you can just keep attacking and shit. Like if you're out of combat, unless you cast spells. Spells cost stamina as well as magic. As soon as you cast a spell, your stamina does go down, regardless
Get your
of being in
big
combat or not.
bow and arrows out.
But to that point as well, as soon as if I sprint into combat, the first thing I do is hurl some rocks at someone and my stamina bar goes down, but it comes from full. But it makes sense because it was always annoying in Dark Souls 1, 2, 3. If I'm sprinting through an area that I've already killed all the enemies in, I'm wearing heavy armor, my stamina goes down to 0 really quickly as a result. I've then got to just walk for a bit until my stamina builds back up, and there's no real danger left. Why
It slows
can't
the
I just
game a
sprint?
lot. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's like an artificial extension of your playtime, and it doesn't need to be. So I think it makes a lot of sense to not consume stamina at a combat, because it's a combat mechanic at the end of the day.
True.
Yeah. But as far as I'm concerned, it's just such a good game. It's such a well implemented open world, and I want to go and play it.
That was my closing comments.
I'm gonna
Those
start.
are also my closing comments.
Well, all right. Been fun, guys. Pleasure as always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Nice, short and sweet this week. Which is
yeah.
great because I want to go and play Elden Ring.
It's not. It's been nearly an hour and 45.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's just flown
Yeah,
by
we
through.
got
It's a good time.
distracted a few times through there, but
I'm sure we'll whittle it down to an hour eventually.
let's
Never.
hope not.
The people
Well,
come here for an extended
cheers.
discussion.
Cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks
Thank
very
you
much.
very
much.
It's been a pleasure.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Laters.